Russell, I believe, Caswick. And I was in Jacksonville after I got out of the Navy when I heard about the plane crashing or disappearing. I had stayed in Jacksonville for a number of years and did not know when I left that the plane had been found, discovered. I found that out years later. But I remember some personalities very well. Commander Kozak, consummate gentleman, officer, and commander. I remember Russell, a consummate professional, very quiet, very, very fine person. And I have memories of Brenneberg as being very proud to come on our crew, very hardworking, very diligent. To this day, I don't really know who is left on that glacier, or I presume it's a glacier, the Crawford Glacier, and who is actually here and buried. And having served with those fine people, the fine service for this country, it's important to me, as I know it is to everyone, to have them to know exactly what happened and to bring some closure. And I think it's important, very important for all of us that respect the military and what it does, especially for immediate family members. And I thank you for being able to say this. It's truly all about that group.
There was a railman on Crew 3 at the time, which later became Crew 7, that crashed, and his fiancée, Bonnie Williamson. They were engaged to be married, and they'd already taken Bonnie home to meet his parents and everything, and were going to be married as soon as they got back off of deployment. And of course, they never came back off of deployment. But she's still a real sweet girl to this day. She named the child after Norman. And I understand one of the guys had to clean out the locker and they found her engagement ring and a bunch. Found an engagement ring and some money that he was saving. Right, American. Well, that's something there. And she made her claim, was it her? No, she didn't make it up. She said she might show up yesterday, but she didn't make it. She's got some health problem with her heart. She said she might be in Jacksonville for some checks at a medical center here. She was. She had dropped by, but I didn't see her. If she did, I'm sure she didn't. She would have looked me up. And is this the crew, or this is the... that's Robert Hurst, the plane captain on the crew, and that was a reception for his wedding. He got married, I'm not sure the exact date, but about July of 1961, just a few months before, a month or two before we deployed. And then, so this is mostly guys that he ran around with, other mechanics and in the squadron, and myself. I was the only one from the crew that was there, and so they had their wives, and there wasn't a big group. Was that in Rona? No, that was here in Jacksonville. Okay. And of course we surprised them after they got the reception out of the way, and they thought, oh, we're home fleet. Well, we knew where we were going, so we met them up. We got over there before they did. And they came in, we had started another hoorah. I said, there, you're not done yet. It went short-sheeted their bed and everything, you know. Them all set up. But yeah, I'd actually dated a girlfriend of his wife. It's one reason I was there, because the girl I was dating was a friend of his wife. Oh, I see. Okay. Wife's there. And a friend of his. And Rhoda, a friend of his. If you want to pull both of those, and all of them may not, the other side may not be him, but we can put them out into this. Put that one on there. We'll have a little respect. Went to sleep, I'll say. Yeah, that was Liberty. He had a hard day. That's what you... Okay, you want me to tell you anything about the same people?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay, there's Bob Hurst and his good friend Claude Hill. They were best buddies, and Claude had already been transferred from Rota. He left the vp-5 and was attached to an outfit in Rota, VQ2, so Bob was looking forward to getting over there to join his good friend Claude. And then the other one is Bob, along with his new bride. Her name was actually Phyllis. Phillips was her maiden name. And they just, like I say, been married a few months before the deployment.
Okay, that's your hand then.
Okay, that's just the first class retirement.
First class retirement.
Okay, these were the same bunch of guys. So Bob did live it up in Rota when he got over there and met up with his good friend again. And so they went out, tasted the wine, and bought them hats, Spanish hats to wear.
Now, and you were saying that in Rota, when you went on Liberty at nighttime, you had to wear the suit and tie,
After
right?
dark, the regulation was you had to have a coat and tie on. In the daytime, you could get away without the coat and tie, but if you were going to go out and stay out, you needed a coat and tie just to be ready to stay out. So that was a requirement. And it had been, so I was over there in 58, and I was back there in 60. The last time I was there, 68, and they still had the same requirement. There was a custom, they thought we ought to recognize the Spanish customs. So if a guy had a coat and tie on, you knew where he was going. He was headed off base.
It's kind of like nowadays the women in the sailors over there in Iraq have to wear the
get off base. You know, yeah. So that's just a.
And that's just another Liberty shot in Rota.
Yeah, at different times because they're dressed a little differently. So.
Yeah, they went out. I guess they were going to go back to the base before dark at this time.
Yeah. So Claude is at the reunion. And that's two different guys.
My hands are clean.
Well, that's okay. I pulled them in and out. These are all copies I've made, by the way. I didn't bring my originals because I didn't want to. If they get lost or whatever, I said, you never can tell. And just to be on the safe side, I said, I don't mind leaving the book around and out. And if somebody pulls a picture, I said, well, it's not the end of the thing. And that's a different crew. It's just at the same time period. Now, these are, you really don't get any detail on the picture. The crew 3, which later became crew 7, had gone over to Sigamilla, Sicily for a few days for some operation. And not just 3 of the crew members that crashed and died. And there's not much face detail, but if you look at them, they're silhouettes. It's the way they looked in a silhouette. Both Hurst and Anderson and Russell. That's the way they looked. You could pick them out. You knew them. You'd say, that's them. Whether you see their faces or not.
Okay.
And I guess that's probably my 3 best friends on the crew. That's a different crew.
Oh, different crew. Okay.
Yeah.
After we go over this, I also kind of wanted to speak with someone about just the basic, talk a little bit about the basic mission of the squadron.
We hadn't figured it out yet.
And, well, like, a lot of people
we give you the official version.
A lot of people don't know about things like the anti-submarine warfare, the Bay of Pigs, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that came later, but anyway.
It was just a couple of months after.
It wasn't very long. Of course, I left January the 15th, so.
Are these any of the guys here?
No, that's none of the guys.
Okay.
Actually, a lot of these guys, they're dead. Another good friend of mine, I got a copy of his pictures before he died. He died of pancreatic cancer just a year or so ago, and I saw him 2 weeks before he died. So I got a copy of his pictures, which is really good. Now, this is
that's the crew there?
That's the crew.
Let me get a picture of this here.
As far as I know, I was under the impression that each member of the crew got a copy of that picture, but if it did, they didn't send the picture home with their personal effects.
And that's the one that's on the website there. I recognize that.
Yeah, it's the same picture. And as far as I know, I may have the only copy of the original picture, because none of the rest of the circus stuff, the family members got them, but if they did, they put them away. And
they're probably up in some attic somewhere.
Yeah.
Your stepdad.
So those 9 guys plus 3 others are the ones that was playing.
Okay.
And that's, one of the guys is in that's Norman in the middle, I think. Isn't it? Let me see who's in the middle. That's Norman Russell.
Okay.
And that was while we were in Spain, before they went, of course, to Iceland.
Was that a week or 2 before they went to Iceland?
Yeah, it may be New Year's Eve.
Oh, okay.
And they left Spain about a week later, or 5 or 6 days after that. What they had to do for the change of command, the XO that was in Iceland flew to Rota, and then the crew, which had been Crew 3, was going to become Crew 7, went to Iceland and take over. And so they just do a lot of plane swapping around. At least 3 numbers have to change.
Yeah.
Crew 3 becomes Crew 7, Crew 7 becomes Crew 1, and Crew 1 has to become something else. They're not Crew 1 anymore.
Some of the guys don't like that when they get their crew changed.
Yeah, they got demoted from being Crew 1. Now there's some other crew. And this is part of the crew here. I don't know whether you want to put it on. It's New Year's Eve, so they were a little intoxicated at that point.
That'd be a good one.
But it was a good, you're celebrating New Year's Eve. If you don't get a little intoxicated then, you might as well forget it.
And who's his Liberty Hound?
Well, I don't know for sure. His sister said it wasn't him, but I think that's the radioman that went on the crew that actually took my place. It was Al Millette, I think.
Mr. Millette.
But I'm not. His sister said she didn't recognize him. So I don't know, but if you look at the features of that and a good picture of him, it looks like the same face to me and the same ID bracelet and that, but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So I won't positively say that is, but the guy he's got his arm around was going to be his boss the next day. So he would be in charge of him. And they were very buddy-buddy there in that picture, as you can tell. So
that's because he was about to go out for liberty and he wanted to didn't get in trouble.
Well, he was dressed up. Maybe just dressed up for New Year's.
Yeah.
But Bob Anderson was the first, the next day would become first tech. Took my place. Actually, they moved the technicians up, and actually, I don't know whether his family's aware of it, but Millette volunteered to go to Iceland because he thought there was too much temptation in Rota for a young married man, and he thought in Iceland there was no temptation, although they always said that there was a woman behind every tree. There just weren't any trees.
When I was there,
I got there, I could find no trees.
When I was there a year later, they had the same thing.
Yeah. And again, still New Year's Eve. That was a big night at the club, celebrating it. And Norman Russell and a friend of his, Grover Lee. Grover later got in the Navy and did 30 years with the FBI. But he told, I think they put 30 rum and cokes in one glass. I don't know. I hope he had help drinking it.
And what do we have here?
And that's just Grover Lee with the band.
Okay.
There.
Can't wait to get to the actual picture of the P-2 aircraft.
The aircraft.
We don't have too many good pictures of the actual.
I've got, it's on, did Doug give you a copy of that disc?
No.
I've got a copy. I've got the disc.
Oh, if I can get a copy, that would be great.
I'll download it and mail it to you if you like. And it's got I saw the picture today, and it's got LA 9 with the snow on it and Iceland and all this. So it'd be a good picture. A more fitting to Iceland.
Right.
And that's not of the crew, but it's of myself. And this guy just came from Iceland. He was on what had been the XO's cruise, and he just came from Iceland. And myself and...
So what date did you actually do the change of command?
The change of command was actually, according to the pictures, it was January the 11th.
The day before the
day before they crashed. So if that was the official date for the change of command, he was only XO one day.
Right.
Although he had been in charge of that detachment, because even though he wasn't the XO yet, he was in charge of it. He was a senior officer there.
Right.
So he was in charge of that detachment. He just hadn't officially became XO until the change of command. So he had the old commanding officer going off and the new commanding officer coming in. And